Trust me, you guys, I've seen the comments. I know you wanted me to talk about this. And honestly, this situation is so shocking that it still doesn't feel real. One of social media's most loved influencer couples, Christy Scott and Desmond Scott, are officially getting a divorce, and fans are still trying to process it. This wasn't just another influencer breakup. This was that couple. The couple people believed in. The couple people pointed to and said, "See? Real love still exists." And now, out of nowhere, Christy filed for divorce, citing infidelity as the reason. Just like that. No long build-up. No public drama beforehand. Just a legal filing that completely flipped everything upside down. What made this hit even harder is their history. These two have been together since they were around 14 years old. Middle school sweethearts. They grew up together. They built their lives together. They got married young and spent over a decade showing the internet what looked like a happy, playful, unbreakable marriage. So when this news broke, fans weren't just surprised, they were stunned. To put it in perspective, people are saying this would be like if the Ace family had split without any cheating rumors beforehand. And that's why this feels different. There were no constant scandals attached to Desmond's name, no long-standing accusations floating around for years. That's why the shock factor was so intense. People genuinely did not see this coming. Within minutes of the news going public, the internet exploded. Comments poured in from fans saying they felt blindsided, confused, even betrayed. People who had watched them for years couldn't wrap their heads around how things could fall apart so suddenly. Just weeks earlier, Christy had posted with Desmond like everything was normal, smiling, joking, living life, and then boom, divorce papers. What really made people spiral was the word used in the filing, infidelity. That one word changed the entire narrative. It instantly shifted attention straight to Desmond. Fans wanted answers. They wanted timelines. They wanted explanations. And most of all, they wanted to know how a relationship that lasted since their teenage years could end like this. At this point, people weren't just sad, they were invested. Because this didn't feel like celebrity gossip anymore. It felt personal. A lot of fans grew up watching them. Some even modeled their own relationships after what Christy and Desmond showed online. So, seeing it all fall apart created this uncomfortable realization that maybe what we see online isn't the full story. And that's where this story really begins. Because once the shock wore off, people started digging. Old videos, old comments, old moments that didn't seem important at the time. But now, they hit very differently. And as more details started coming out, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a breakup. This was the collapse of an image the internet fully believed in. Before we get into the cheating allegations, the statements, and all the mess, we need to talk about why this divorce hit people so hard. Because Christy Scott and Desmond Scott weren't just another influencer couple. They were the couple. If you've spent any time on TikTok or Instagram over the past few years, you've seen them. Christy posting lifestyle, fashion, and high-energy videos. Desmond in the kitchen, cooking like it's second nature. And then the two of them together. Pranks, family moments, playful chaos, and that dynamic people couldn't get enough of. She'd do something wild, jump around, scare him, grab food straight off his plate, and he'd either laugh and yell, "Christy," or just look at her like, "What are you doing?" And those reactions, they went viral every time. Insert viral couple montage. That dynamic became their brand. Christy as the loud, fearless main character, Desmond as the calm, supportive husband who cooked every meal and laughed everything off. Fans loved it. People called him a green flag. They said he was patient, loving, and secure. And Christy? She was praised for being unapologetically herself. Together, they felt real. But here's the thing. Social media doesn't show reality. It shows a highlight reel. And now that everything is falling apart, fans are realizing how carefully curated that image really was. The jokes, the pranks, the chaos. People are questioning whether it was all fun, or if some of it crossed into something deeper. Christy wasn't just part of the brand, she was the brand. She's the one with the massive following. She's the one walking red carpets, landing major brand deals, building an empire in front of everyone's eyes. Desmond's cooking content blew up after they were already viral together. A lot of fans are now pointing out that she built the platform first, and he benefited from it. Pause for side-by-side follower count visuals, and once that realization set in, people started rewatching old videos differently. The constant scaring didn't feel cute to everyone. Others pushed back, saying it was clearly for content and exaggeration was the point. That's where the internet split. One side says this was obviously an act. The other side says, no, this was low-key disrespect that everyone ignored because it was entertaining. And now, with the divorce happening, every single moment is being re-examined under a microscope. What once looked like relationship goals is now being dissected as performance. And that's the uncomfortable truth people are struggling with. Because if this couple wasn't as solid as they seemed, then who really is? And once Desmond finally spoke up, that perfect image shattered even more. A few days after the divorce news broke and the internet completely turned on him, Desmond Scott finally came forward with a statement. And instead of calming things down, it did the exact opposite. Pause for screenshot of statement. In his message, Desmond opened with an apology to Christy Scott, their family, and everyone affected by the situation. He said he knew the news was disappointing and admitted that he made choices he wasn't proud of. He emphasized that Christy is the mother of his children and that his priority would always be being an active and present father. On the surface, it sounded like a responsible, mature response. But then came the line that changed everything. He said that toward the end of last year, he wanted to separate, that he had conversations with Christy about it, and that during that period, he made decisions that ultimately led to the divorce. Beat, that's where fans stopped listening with sympathy and started listening with side-eye. Because to a lot of people, that sounded like this: I wanted out. It was taking too long, so I cheated. Now, Desmond never actually used the word cheating. He was careful, very careful. But he also didn't deny the infidelity claim in the divorce filing. And that silence spoke louder than anything he said. The internet immediately interpreted his statement as an indirect admission. Insert comment screenshots. People were ruthless. Fans dragged the wording apart line by line. They called the statement tone-deaf, cold, self-serving, especially the ending, where he thanked supporters and said he would continue sharing his love for cooking and hoped people would stay on that journey with him. That part did not sit well. To many viewers, it felt like he was asking for grace and engagement in the same breath he admitted to blowing up his family. People felt like the timing was wrong, the priorities were off, and the accountability was incomplete. Comments flooded in saying things like, "So you wanted to separate but didn't want to file?" Or, "You don't cheat your way out of a marriage." Others straight up said they never liked him and always felt something was fake about his laugh and persona. And that's when the narrative really shifted. Before the statement, people were confused. After the statement, people were angry. Meanwhile, Christy said absolutely nothing. No clapback, no subtweets, no long caption, just silence. And in a situation like this, silence can be powerful. Fans started praising her for choosing peace while Desmond tried to explain himself and ended up digging a deeper hole. By the end of it, his statement didn't clear his name. It confirmed what many people already suspected: that whatever happened behind closed doors wasn't mutual, wasn't clean, and definitely wasn't handled the right way. And once that door opened, the internet went straight to the past, looking for signs they missed. Once Desmond's statement dropped, fans did what the internet does best. They went straight to the archives. Old videos, old clips, old moments that once felt funny or harmless suddenly started feeling uncomfortable. And the biggest thing people focused on? The cooking. If you followed Christy Scott and Desmond Scott, you already know this dynamic. Desmond was always the one cooking. Every meal, every recipe, every viral kitchen moment. Cooking wasn't and just his hobby. It was his role in the relationship and eventually his entire online brand. And fans are now pointing out something important. Christy built the platform first. Her personality, her energy, her following is what drew people in. Desmond's cooking content really took off because people were already watching them. She put him in front of millions of eyes, and from there, his chef persona exploded. Now let's talk about the behavior people are rewatching differently. Christy was constantly grabbing food straight off his plate. Aggressively sometimes, jumping around him, scaring him on purpose, dancing wildly wherever she was, recording his reactions every single time. And back then, it was framed as playful, chaotic, funny content. Sometimes Desmond laughed hard and called out Christy in that laugh that made him go viral. Other times, he didn't laugh. He just stared, or sighed, or looked visibly annoyed. At the time, people brushed it off as a joke, but now fans are saying, wait, that wasn't always funny. What really stood out to people were the cooking videos Christy posted without Desmond. In December, she uploaded clips of herself struggling in the kitchen, burning food, not knowing if chicken was cooked, laughing it off, Everyone thought it was comedy at first. But now, fans think those videos were a message. Because if you know their relationship, you know Desmond always cooked. So why was she suddenly cooking alone? Why did it look like she was learning something she never had to do before? People are now convinced that was her subtle way of showing something was already off behind the scenes. Comments started resurfacing from weeks ago saying, "This video didn't sit right with me. I checked to see if they broke up after watching this. I didn't know why, but the vibe felt different." At the time, those comments sounded dramatic. Now they sound prophetic. Whether intentional or not, those old clips became clues. And once fans convinced themselves the signs were always there, the narrative changed from, "This came out of nowhere," to, "We just didn't want to see it." And that realization opened the door for something even messier: rumors. At this point, the divorce wasn't just news anymore, it was full-blown internet chaos. Once fans convinced themselves there were signs all along, the rumors took over. And when I say rumors, I mean the kind that spread faster than facts ever could. First came the gay allegations against Desmond Scott. These weren't new, but they came back loud. People started resurfacing old comments saying he always gave gay, that his mannerisms felt feminine, that his personality never matched the image of a straight husband. Some even claimed the marriage was a lavender marriage, which makes absolutely no sense considering they met at 14 and built an entire life together, but that didn't stop people from running with it. Then things got even messier. A theory started circulating that the reason Christy Scott filed for divorce with no chance of reconciliation was because Desmond allegedly cheated with a man. Again, no proof, no confirmation, just speculation. But once the internet decides on a narrative, it doesn't need evidence. It needs engagement. At the same time, another rumor started gaining traction on the opposite end, that Christy herself had allegedly been entertaining attention from high-profile men, specifically NBA players. According to internet detectives, as Christy's fame skyrocketed, so did her DMs rappers, athletes, producers, men who were richer, more famous, and more visible than Desmond. Some people claim Desmond found out and wanted to leave first. Others say Christy begged him to stay to protect the family and the brand. And then, allegedly, he cheated back, out of resentment, ego, or to force the marriage to end. Let's be very clear. None of this has been confirmed by either of them. This is pure internet speculation. But that didn't stop people from choosing sides and building entire narratives around who was really wrong. Fans began dissecting their power dynamic, Christy being the star, Desmond becoming the extra. People said he couldn't handle her success and tried to humble her. Others said her content came at his expense and that she didn't respect his boundaries even if it was just jokes. And suddenly everyone was an expert on their marriage. What made this worse was the silence. Christy still hadn't said a word. Desmond had already spoken, and many felt he said too much while also saying nothing at all. That vacuum allowed rumors to thrive unchecked. By now, the story had completely shifted. It wasn't just about a divorce anymore. It was about masculinity, power, jealousy, fame, sexuality, and ego. And the internet was determined to turn it into the messiest influencer breakup in years. And then, just when things couldn't get any worse, TMZ dropped footage that poured gasoline on everything. Just when it felt like the situation couldn't get messier, TMZ did what TMZ always does. They dropped footage that completely shifted the conversation. Only days after Christy Scott filed for divorce and Desmond Scott released his apology statement, cameras caught Desmond out at a club, publicly making out with a woman. And honestly, the timing is what made people lose it. This was the same man who just asked for privacy, compassion, and understanding. The same man who said he made choices he wasn't proud of. And now he's out in public, getting hot and heavy like cameras don't exist. To fans, it felt reckless, careless, almost disrespectful. According to reports, the woman was much younger, and sources claimed they had just met that night through a mutual friend. She allegedly had no idea who he was or about his online fame and believed he was single. TMZ noted that the drinks were flowing, there was an instant spark, and things escalated fast. But the internet wasn't buying the innocence angle. People immediately started asking, is he trying to prove something? Especially with the gay allegations already circulating. Some fans believed this was Desmond overcorrecting, trying to show the world he is straight by being excessively public with a woman. Others said it didn't matter who the woman was or why, because the optics were already bad. The biggest issue wasn't even the makeout itself. Technically, he's separating. The problem was the contrast. Christy staying quiet, posting normal content, choosing peace, while Desmond was out here adding fuel to an already raging fire. That contrast made people rally even harder behind her. At this point, the narrative was locked in for most fans. Desmond went from green flag husband to cautionary tale in a matter of days. And whether fair or not, his actions reinforced everything people were already accusing him of: immaturity, ego, and a lack of accountability. Meanwhile, Christy's silence spoke louder than any statement. She didn't need to explain herself. The internet did it for her. Now, the big question is what happens next? What happens to their shared brand? Their businesses? Their content involving their kids? Will Christy ever speak out? Or will she let actions and court filings do all the talking? One thing is clear. This isn't just a divorce anymore. It's a complete collapse of an image millions of people believed in. And it's a reminder that no matter how perfect something looks online, we never really know what's happening behind closed doors. So now I want to know, do you think Desmond was reckless or just careless? And do you believe the rumors about Christy and an NBA player, or is the internet reaching again? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more messy updates like this, you already know what to do.